the Kansas City game. I shall return soon, but before I go, I need a little purple Festivus Lamar Jackson, get ready for the Kansas City game kind of therapy. Bill Cole is here to do that from Cole Roofing, about to celebrate 100 years. Cole Roofing, of course, fixes roofs and leaks and big things and small things and all things corporate, but they also sponsor our corporate community and charity challenge and fun for 2019 as well. So if you have 5Ks, 10Ks, golf tournaments, covered dishes, bake sales, or in this case, Bill, can I give some holiday love to a friend of mine here on camera? First off, welcome in. Thank you for the therapy.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah, of course you can give love.
All right, so I have my Cole Roofing mug. I'm going to, good morning, a little Royal Farms Kona blend there. So the holiday cards have started to roll in, Bill. And do you still send holiday cards, Christmas cards, whatever you? Yeah, I call them Christmas cards, holiday cards, Hanukkah cards, Kwanzaa, whatever you're into. But do you send them?
Yep.
I do not. My wife is a little bit more old-fashioned. She would prefer to send them. I don't think she really sends them anymore, but she collects the addresses and, cancer changes things, whatever. So I got a friend of mine, Scott Norton, so I just want to give Scott some love. I've known Scott for, I don't know, like 30 years, maybe longer. He's the world's biggest Rush fan, and you know what a Rush fanatic I am, right? So
sure,
I wear my Rush shirt. So he sends me a text, and he's not a Facebook dude. He's not a Twitter dude. I haven't seen him around the ballpark. Every time my wife and I pop up on the video boards, it was either because of him or Larry Rosen, and we don't pop up anymore because Bobby Popick doesn't love us like that. So Scott Norton says, I'm going to send you something, and I'm like, all right. And so I give him my address, and he sends me it off, and he sends me this Rush moving pictures holiday greeting card that, Bill, you're just going to have to trust me as to how cool it is, okay? I'm holding it up to the camera. You'll be able to go back later on Facebook Live and check it out. And so anyway, and there's the Rush logo on the back. So officially licensed Rush holiday cards. What puts me in a better mood than that? That and eggnog to start my morning from Royal Farms, right?
I mean, that's cool, but I think the picture that we're required to send of my kids every year is actually more cool, but, that's probably up to debate.
Once we went to the Great Wall of China and we took the picture with my purple Santa hat on and we sent that one out, I guess it was like 07, 08. Then, Facebook hit, and then I'm like to my wife, like, why are you sending a Christmas card? I know what the kids look like. I know what all the nieces and nephews. Right. So, I think that it's a little passe. But when it's a card this good, Scott, or Kevin Grace, and I got to find Kevin's card because Kevin sent me a card too because I want to give Kevin some love because we have such great, cool friends we've made through doing this, including you, Bill. Let's make some merry memories. Let's celebrate the season. And it's got like a little a reindeer and a squirrel, and it's lovely. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. All right.
So just
holiday
cards. Just to clarify your position here.
I'm one way. Yes.
Your friends sending you cards make you feel really good and appreciated and enjoy
loved.
it. But,
I do.
But you're totally unwilling to return that joy.
Back to football with you, Bill Cole. This is an unlikely thing, right? This is 4 and 5, you manage people. We talk about this all the time. I talk to Dennis about this all the time. And I love having business owners on. And by the way, if there's anybody else who wants to sponsor WNST that loves me or Bill or whatever, throw me a note. I will be on the sponsorship trail in 2019, getting bigger and better, holding up Cole Roofing mugs and stuff. But, the whole notion that Harbaugh was gone and Flacco's going to get – and right now Flacco's the dead man walking, right? Like Flacco, there's no Flacco will be leading some team to a 9-4 start next year because he's going to get to select a good situation where they want him, they need him, he's the missing piece. Him with that Jacksonville defense and like some offensive line help in a running game in good weather. Joe's going to be fine. Joe's got plenty of money. Joe's still having Italian dinner on Friday night. I'm still going to love Joe wherever he is because, he's my bromance of the modern era. I gave up on Brady Anderson. He was my last one, but I'll write about that in my Dear Brady piece when I find out whether he's staying or leaving. Dude, it's fascinating that they're going to Kansas City. And not only, like, they're going there and Kansas City's really good and they give up a lot of points and score a lot of points, but, like, I have a sneaky feeling that they're going to will themselves into the game. I think it's a tall task to think this kid's going to go out there and win and beat a 10-2 team and beat Mahomes and beat that defense. But I think they're going to shake that defense up enough that at 3:30 on Sunday, the Chiefs are going to be thinking long and hard, and Andy Reid about their bye week. They have to play the Chargers on Thursday night, right? So the Chargers are coming. So that's in their head a little bit too. They have this sort of gaudy lead that's not gaudy at all anymore. A hiccup here and a loss there, and they go to 5th place, and they're 10-4, and they're now in 2nd place in their division, and they're a 5 seed. So they got a lot at stake here. They're really good, but I have a sneaky suspicion the Ravens are going to will the game into their direction, which is running the ball, short down and distances, all of that. But I also fear for Lamar Jackson making fatal flaws because I think that's going to happen. It's going to happen, and when it does, it's going to happen on the road against a good team.
Yeah, I think it's amusing that, you've come as far as you have over the last 3 weeks to now tell me that we've got a shot against Kansas City. I had to laugh when, during the game on Sunday, the announcer is more interested in talking about how exciting it's going to be to watch our defense play against Kansas City the following week. And
It's exciting to watch them play as long as they only play 20 minutes. If they play 20 minutes, we're going to win.
Right, I guess.
It's not going to be exciting to watch them play for 35 minutes, I assure you of that.
Right. If they want to show up and play like they played against tonight, look, anytime this team plays defense, we're all in. We love it. I don't really care who the quarterback is. I don't really care how many points. I lived through field goals to win the Super Bowl. So it's you play defense. Hey, I'm there. Let's do it. We'll make enough good things happen for us.
Well, the playing defense part has to happen. They don't have. I don't want to say their best weapon. Their best weapon, handles the football, right? But Kelsey and on the outside and Tyreek Hill and what happened with Kareem Hunt, how they're going to respond to that is going to dictate whether somebody's writing Red Rain in Kansas City. Vi Gregorian or one of my buddies who's come on the show here this week from Kansas City who chronicled the Chiefs. A win here and a statement game and a comeback and a stamp down of the Chargers, and they're 12-2. 5 days from now, 6 days from now, that's a whole different thing than stubbing their toe. And I think styles make fights here, right? And I think I am buying in on the style that if this style keeps the Chiefs linebackers and safeties running around and we're in 2nd and 2 all day, I love that, and I think that and I've seen that 3 weeks in a row now against bad defenses, and apparently this defense is worse. As a unit to stop a run, this is the 31st ranked run defense. They've given up 87 points in the last 2 weeks. They scored 91. But either way, that's something I feel like that we're not going to get off the bus out there and stink. I think it's going to be a better game than 21-3 at halftime. And if it's 21-3 at halftime, I'm going to tell you what happened. The kid kicked the ball around. They mishandled something. Something got blown up. He threw the ball up for grabs. A punt return. Tyreek Hill gets a hold of the ball and somebody falls asleep. Those are going to be the kinds of things. And dude, and here we go. This is where it gets fun, Bill Cole. They're down 21-3 at the half, and Joe Flacco's over there warming up. Because that's what's going to happen if they get down 21-3. Joe Flacco's going to become the quarterback when they go down 2 scores because that's going to be the only way they can win a game on the road that they need to win. Harbaugh doesn't care about a quarterback controversy. He's a big boy. He's ready to go coach the Packers or the Panthers just as well. I think that was laid in the dirt 4 weeks ago too. So we got gunslingers are coming out, right? Literally here. That's what makes this interesting for me in Kansas City and when I get to L.A. 2 weeks from now.
Well, the style conversation works for the other side of the ball as well.
Sure.
They talk about how we play defense and the way we disguise things. And, even though Mahomes hasn't necessarily looked like a extremely young quarterback, he still is. So if you confuse him and your corners can stay close long enough, and maybe, Suggs ramps it up and Judon goes wild. I'm enough of a fan to say, boy, I sure hope this game's fun. But I'm also a little bit of a pessimist in terms of, we're just not that good. We do a lot with smoke and mirrors, and we beat up on bad teams, but we're just not that good. So, and I'm not convinced Lamar. I mean, they scheme people into problems. They are athletes, right? And we just keep running bodies out there. And, put RG3 in, that's fine. He'll run a series while we get taped up and put back together, and then we come back out and we keep playing. So, it should be fun, right?
Well, the fascinating part of this for me is if they squeak out wins or a win or two here and get themselves into the tournament, and that would mean a bus trip to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's got their hands full. They're going to see New England. They clearly are heading in the wrong direction, and it feels like we're heading in a different direction right now. But, getting on the plane a month from now, to me, if you have Joe Flacco healthy, upright, and having the ability to run a standard offense in a place like New England, if you needed the Wally Pipp, Earl Morrall, Johnny U, Hostetler, Sims, you make up anything you want. I mean, last year, Nick Foles his career was over, and he's a Super Bowl MVP. So, I'm not ready to unwrite the Joe Flacco script because I don't think he's old. I don't think he's broken down. I don't think he can't play. I think he needs a running game and some guys to block for him, and a couple Antonio Greens and some old school Dennis Pittas, and Joe Flacco could go win a Super Bowl with a good defense. So, and a kicker that can hit from 58 yards. So, I'm not down on Joe Flacco. I believed he could win 7 weeks ago. I'll believe he could win 6 weeks from now if we need him, because that's who I am on Joe. I'm bullish on Joe, and I think deep down John Harbaugh is as well. And I don't think John Harbaugh really thinks sticking around here he's going to win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, doing it this way over the long haul and taking on linebackers mauling him 18 and 20 times a game. It's just John's watched this too long. But this week against a team that can't tackle, to go out there and run and chase a little bit and have the backup plan of a healthy Joe Flacco, it's not a bad backup plan. And then you get Tampa at home, then you got to go out to San Diego and figure that out. They're going to need Joe Flacco again, man. Mark my words. I've been tweeting it. I've been saying it. Joe Flacco, as much as much we want to bury Joe Flacco around here and talk about what he didn't do to win a Super Bowl, he's going to play again, Bill Cole.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the plays that Lamar missed was because the tackle's foot kicked him in the face. Like, that kind of weird stuff happens when you're running the ball and you put your quarterback in danger. So I agree with you. He's not going to make it. I'm totally okay if Joe comes back in. The whole thing feels a little weird, like he had a hip injury. Like, we do much better when you watch the guy get hurt on the field and you're like, oh, that looks bad, and then they miss 3 weeks. We didn't really get that with Joe, so you kind of got to wonder.
I thought Joe looked lousy in the last half of that game, and I thought when he came up gimpy in the first quarter after the hit, I sensed, dude, he will never it's not in his DNA. I mean, to tap out. I mean, he just won't. I mean, and especially not with Lamar Jackson behind him. Maybe, he was a guy, and I talk to Luke about this all the time. He had a durability about him that Lamar Jackson's not going to have. I mean, Joe Flacco played 9 years without missing a snap, man. Like, right. That's Brett Favre. You know what I mean? Like, nobody does that. So that's who he is, and he played with the purple hip through the playoffs and didn't even talk about it for 3 years. I didn't know about it till 3 years later. I didn't know about it till I sat in a diner in Philadelphia with him writing a book after he won the Super Bowl, how bad it was. Then he told me. So that's who he is. So he's not going to tell anybody anything. I mean, maybe 10 years from now we'll find out he wasn't hurt at all. But I doubt that. I really do.
No, I think he was hurt. So one of the advantages they have, or one of the problems that it causes, is it's easier, or I guess it's even possible to go from a Lamar game plan to, we need Joe, and Joe comes back in, and you just flip the switch.
Well, Crabtree and Snead are like that, right? Like, I mean, because all of a sudden we'll be throwing the ball.
Right, but you can't go the other way. So without a week of preparation, you can't, Joe goes down, send Lamar in, let's run the ball, 80% of the time. You're not going to be able to do that flip I think you can go the other way. So I think we're in a good position from that regard, is that if you get down 2-3 scores at halftime, you can make that switch. And yeah, you don't have all the thought that you'd like to have in a game plan to get the matchups that you want, but you've got enough, and Joe's just going to fling it around, and you're going to see what's happening. You're down 2-3 touchdowns anyway, so you just go out and
this is where, look, Marty Morningwig started having wet dreams about this back in May, right? Like, he's scripting up this and drawing up this, and if we could do this, and I remember this play we ran in San Francisco and in Detroit 20 years ago. I mean, I see the mad scientist. I mean, you hear his press conferences. I could probably do a pretty good Marty if I studied him. That would be my Hard Knocks. I could be Marty Morningwig on rookie night, right? But all of those plays, all of those dreams, all of those schemes, all of that pitching it to Joe, right, back in June. Joe, we got this special kid. Put the ball in his hands 10 or 12 times a game, and he's going to make Ray Rice look like amateur hour around here for having to scheme against him. And now the league has had to scheme against him for a month. There is a part of this where all they talked about in May and June and July, and then into August, September, and even into October was when we get this thing working. And you know where we saw it working, Bill? When Drew Brees came in here 5-6 weeks ago, right? How it works when it's really effective, when you have a quarterback that can throw the ball over everybody's head and everybody knows it and needs to respect it, and a guy like John Brown that can go down there and get it, right? And a couple of tight ends that can block it up and scheme it up, and you put Lamar Jackson on the field now 80% of the time instead of 15% of the time on goal line because he knows what he's doing. And now maybe for 6 weeks you can catch lightning in a bottle and you can go and really F with the Houston Texans or the New England Patriots, right? When it counts. You know, in January, when you have to go play them and they have no idea what you're doing, and the Steelers, remember how hard it was to prepare for the Steelers when Cordell Stewart was running around some of the time? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's 25 years ago, right? So I'm just saying their ideal way to do this would have been what Drew Brees came in here and did, and sliced and diced and dissected, because Joe can read a defense. You know what I mean? Joe will put them in the best play, and if Lamar chucking it around and gets them into 2nd and 2, puts them in the best play, and then they can dagger you with John Brown. Or if Lamar can throw it, dagger. Sam Cook can throw it. Lamar can throw it too. Maybe Lamar's the one that daggers you with a 40-yard cross to a tight end because the whole defense gets sucked in. I'm just saying there are things they can do with both of them that they bragged about for 6 months. That all of a sudden, I don't think the geniuses out there think, I'm just going to take my $25 million guy who's got ice water and not put him in the game in the soccer blimp out in San Diego to beat Phillip Rivers. I don't believe that they're going to leave that putter in their bag. I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Right. I don't think anybody would argue that after watching this for a couple weeks now, the team that played in September and the way Joe picked people apart in September with all these new weapons, you know, Crabtree and Snead. I mean, Snead's a non-participant anymore. And there was a time period where it looked like he was the go-to guy. You still got all these tight ends running around, so I give Joe 80% of the snaps, you know, mix in 20% of this thing that people have to spend too much time during the week preparing for now that lets them not prepare, you know, to handle Joe as well. And I think you can win that way. And honestly, do whatever you want there, because if you're pitching shutouts or you're getting turnovers or Suggs is galloping into the end zone, we got a really good chance of winning anyway.
Hey, so by the way, from a management standpoint, Bill Cole's here, Cole Roofing. This is really a shining moment for Harbaugh, for the whole organization, right? To figure this out, right? That if they're still playing football in the 2nd week of January, somehow, some way, right? Because look, Suggs is upright, Weddle's upright, Jimmy Smith is upright, Marlon Humphrey's emerging, C.J. Mosley's playing for a lot of money, so's Judon, so's Zadarius Smith, right? Like, the offensive line's pretty healthy, Yonda's still there, they've figured out the Gus bus, and they're mixing Ken Dixon in, and they got 4 tight ends who all like each other and don't seem like idiots, quite frankly, and sharing and picking up responsibilities and pitching in and getting the ball thrown to them once and again. They got a kicker that can kick from 60 yards in New England or Pittsburgh or Houston or Kansas City, wherever they have to play, right? I mean, and they have a Super Bowl winning head coach. Oh, and by the way, the backup quarterback's a Super Bowl MVP now, right? So right. I don't know, man.
That was a pretty good. That was a pretty good pitch right there. I kind of
the pitch changes. The pitch changes if they lose 41-9 in Kansas City because they go out and Lamar turns the ball over 3 times and Flacco comes in and throws 2 more. You know what I mean? Like that, and the defense can't figure out how to stop Kelsey and can't figure out how to get to Mahomes. And I'm saying, look, they've done that to everybody else, right? They score 50 points against everybody. The way they don't score 50 points is for Lamar Jackson to put us in 2nd and 2 and eat 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock, even if you kick a field goal. Now, Luke and I would both argue, and we had that argument earlier in the week, that you're not going to win kicking field goals. You know what I mean? If you got 9 points at halftime against the Chiefs, you're probably just buying time for them to dagger you. But that whole notion of keeping the defense off the field and what this offense can do to just hold the ball a little while, wow. I mean, I did not understand the power of that a month ago. What do they say? It's what you learn after you know everything, right? And I feel like I've learned a lot in the last month.
Last week, I forget who the Chiefs played, but they did not have time to prepare.
Oakland.
Right. Yeah, well, okay, so even if they did prepare, I'm not sure it would matter. Like, they lost their questionably second best player behind their quarterback or Tariq Hill, but I mean, they don't have a running back. They have another guy. He's gonna do okay because you're so worried about them flinging the ball. But if we just pin our ears back and we scheme up ways to cover, to hide our zone defense or to just give the quarterback something to worry about, and then you get 2 turnovers, hey, you're in the ball game. No doubt about it, because you are going to grind out the clock. They're not going to get that many possessions. So it's all about the turnovers. You get the kid to make some turnovers, I think we're in the ball game.
Here's Bill Cole Roofing, doing it for 99 and now 11/12 years. I guess beginning January 1. Well, will you have the little party hat on? And we talked about holiday cards. I mean, you got to send out a We're 100 Years Old card, right?
I'm not sure that's in the plan.
Well, what do you give for a 100-year anniversary gift? I don't. Hold on. I'm Googling that for a friend.
Yeah, you do that. Here's what I've noticed.
I'm going to get you an Aurora Borealis opal necklace is what I'm going to –
okay.
That's what comes up here.
So you don't notice – it's kind of like the blue car thing. Like, you don't notice how many blue cars there are until you buy a blue car, and now there's 1 million blue cars. You don't notice, like, how many people are 100 until you're turning 100, and then you notice, like, oh, Maryland basketball is celebrating the 100th season. And next year, Calvert Hall plays Loyola in the Turkey Bowl, in the 100th Turkey Bowl. And then I'm thinking that this may be a trend that we see continuing, because if you look at, 1919 and into the 20s, and you're kind of like in that prosperity time period where maybe there was a lot of things that got started, and I don't know. So it's just it's that change of perspective on how things look when all of a sudden you're thinking about it and you're noticing it.
Because I had a great 6th grade teacher who led me to a life of literature, and it's funny because when I put her picture up on the internet a couple months ago, and I think she's been gone a long time, and I'd love to meet her kids or her family. Her name was Betsy Johnson, if anybody's listening out there, who taught elementary school in 1979. She had a son named Eric, I know that. So anyway, and she was from the Loch Raven area, and she was just a wonderfully eclectic woman to have in my life. Like when I celebrate all the people in my life, I am so lucky that she was in my life. And she recommended a book to me called 1919 by John Dos Passos when she found out that both of my parents, who raised me, who most people thought were my grandparents, and you knew my mom who passed last year at the age of 98, both of my parents who raised me were born in 1919. My mom was born in Ware Shoals, South Carolina, a little town that I almost went and checked out when I was down in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, but the rain kind of kept me away that day, and just basically being lazy. And my dad was born in Scranton, in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, in Music, raised there, and Clark Summit in Scranton. So 1919 John Dos Passos is your homework. So there you go. From Mrs. Johnson in room 210 at Colgate Elementary School, where I'm about to share my Oliver production of singing I Do Anything. Did you catch my Consider Yourself last week, Bill, online, or no?
No, I did not.
No, I found all my lost VHS tapes. I'm about to embarrass my son today, too. You'll want to check it out online.
You got too much time on your hands. We need to win some more football games so you can start planning some more road trips.
I like talking to you because I don't have to talk about the game all the time. I can talk about John Dos Passos and a fine American literature and the USA trilogy. It's the second part of a 3-part series. It's 1919 John Dos Passos. That's your homework for the year. So this time next year, because I know you like reading and you like cool stuff. This is an Americana journey. With 1919, the second volume of his USA trilogy, John Dos Passos continues his vigorous and sweeping panorama of 20th century America, landed on the publication of the first volume not only for its scope, but also for its groundbreaking style. I'm giving you an incredible piece of literature to read.
Sounds like it. I'm excited.
Tell everybody what you do, man.
So I think besides talk football with you, we are a almost 100-year-old commercial roofer. So we do everything from leaks to repairs to new construction to roof replacements on commercial buildings, schools, hospitals, shopping centers, anything like that. Been doing it a long time. We like to look at the roof as a platform for other things, so we talk about putting plants and solar panels up there and
James Bond
generally
stuff.
trying to solve problems for people.
Go to coleroofing.com, and if you're nice to Billy, he might give you a cool black mug with the red interior. My mug's starting to wear out, bro. I drink from it a lot. I drink a lot of Royal Farm. You don't think I get this way on low decaf, do you, right? I mean, my wife's about to caffeinate me right now and bring another cup in.
But the used mug, right? The one with the callus on it, that's nice. That's good. That's
you know what I hope to say in 8 weeks when I'm drinking from the Cole Roofing mug in Atlanta at Super Bowl 53, I believe is the right number, when Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco have brought this hybrid offense, into to play the Rams in the Super Bowl or whatever, right? I will say, you know what? This was the mug I drank out of during the Super Bowl year, the Cole Roofing mug.
There you go.
I don't ever let Dennis Pitta forget that he did a radio show with me every week that year, and we won the Super Bowl. And I'm like, hey, man, remember, the year you did radio with me, we won a Super Bowl. Remember that. I tell all
those
the
are good things. They're good points of
hey,
reference.
man, I don't want to get too heady about all this, right? I mean, I think that they're playing good football right now, and they're 7-5. And when they were 4-5, it feels to me like we're on borrowed time, and everything here is icing on the cake for me. I'm digging that we have a season. I'm digging that we're engaged into this, especially at a time when the Orioles are not going to engage us next summer, where the Terps hired Mike Loxley. And by the way, I know you're a Terps guy. The basketball team's going to be good. No matter how it goes here, Purdue, Big Ten, early, the Virginia game, I have expectations for them to be very competitive this year. I really do. I don't think they're going to be blown out and beaten down, and I think they have a little depth. I think they have a little moxie. I like their players this year. I'm going to pull for them.
I think they're a ton of fun to watch. I'm really excited. If you watch the Virginia game, the last 2 minutes, I mean, it
they had a chance.
Seemed, well, it seemed like you knew what the result was going to be. But
I told my wife that. I'm like, Maryland loses these games.
Yeah, but Jay Billis was sitting there, and he was warning you. He's like, he spent more time talking about the Maryland team as that game was winding down, about how impressed he was with them. They're young, and they're still trying to figure it out, and you can literally see that happening where they're making mistakes and they're walking back down the floor. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I think they're really good.
By the way, I Googled the 100-year anniversary. The term is uncommon in the United States, where a 75th anniversary is termed a Diamond Jubilee. And the next level of celebration, an anniversary of 100 years, is simply called, I guess once you get to be 100, you're humble, right? a centenary. It's just a centenary. That's what it is. It's not diamondy. It's not ruby. It's not even, and sadly for me, an Aurora Borealis opal necklace, which probably comes from my Google. Every word I put in, you know what I mean? I want to see the Aurora Borealis. So now anything that pops up because I've used it in a Google search. We're all being monitored, Bill Cole. I think the orange guy on Pennsylvania Avenue is going to figure that out. Yeah,
we do not have enough time to go down that rabbit hole and tell you about all my weird, scary conspiracy theories on all that stuff.
2 weeks from now, when someone else is president, we'll get together and we'll talk about all that, all right?
Right.
All right, man. Take care. I hope we don't have a skip week next week. I know I'm going to be a little late to the party on Wednesday. I hope it's a victory party and they're 8-5. I'm crossing my fingers and but not holding my breath. But you got anything on the Orioles? You want to say anything about the winter meetings, or you just want to let that go for a week? You done with it?
Yeah, no. I mean, other than, it's like that old story about the Ravens are putting out press releases about the good things that they're doing in the community and giving back to the city schools and things like that. And, where's the corresponding Oriole information and all the good things that they're doing in the community? And then I wake back up and remember what year we're in and,
No. The Orioles put the Braille jerseys up on Twitter a couple days ago. They raised, I believe, $16,000 for the National Federation. So kudos to them, and, as someone who's done radio for 30 years, and I think I talked to you about this a couple months ago, a lot of blind listeners, especially in the early days. I had so many listeners visit me, always so inspiring, so good work. So there you go. There's my they can't say that I'm not fair and balanced, right? Because I do say good things about the Orioles when there are good things to say. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, but, that's even a good story, and they're still not talking about it. Because nobody's even looking for that information.
They hate me so much. They hate me so much. Like, literally, they don't want me talking about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird, all of the charity stuff they ever did with Markakis and Davis and Buck and Longevity and Monica Barr, they've never, ever, ever, ever sought any value in what my platform and my audience of 100,000 people could do to make them look good. It's never dawned on them. I'm just an a-hole that loves the team and hates them, or what, I don't know.
Right. I mean,
I don't know what they think.
About it in the past,
whatever they think's wrong, like everything else they think usually. So
we've talked about it in the past. Like, when the team is terrible and the tickets are too expensive and the beer costs too much money, like, somewhere in the back of your head, good things that they do help make that stuff easier for us to decide to do, right? So if you know that they're looking out for your people.
Well, every brand's trying to be warm and fuzzy, right? When we make that consideration in any aisle to do anything, we want to think the coffee we're drinking, the airline we're flying, the hat we're wearing, all stands for something, right? Like, and I think we all buy on affinity levels for that. I mean, you know of my love of animals, we all play to that to some degree, and the Orioles just go away for 6 months, man. Like, I don't know, their tickets aren't even on sale. Like, Marty Conway and I get together, and, as a case study, Marty was doing this 30 years ago, and then, the amazing thing, and to take it a little further, I was down in Atlanta this weekend. It's amazing how vibrant that place is, right? And they've had troubles. They've had bombs go off in the Olympics. They've had tough times. They've had crime. They're in the middle of a fixed election. Their government is corrupt. I mean, fundamentally, without question, their government is corrupt. And yet you go down there, and things are functioning, and things are happening, and there's movement, and there's something happening down there. And I felt it there, and I'm going to feel it again in 8 weeks when they're having a Super Bowl. And, part of that is the motion and the passion of just putting it. These kids are not passionate about people or fans or sports or Baltimore. If they were, they'd be out in front of it. They wouldn't be in Florida filing their nails, which is what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Gee, sounds like we've had this conversation before.
But never again, right?
No, of course.
Because it's all fixed now. All right.
No, we're always going to hope for the best.
Bill, love you, appreciate you. See you on the other side of Kansas City and Tony Robbins. All right, have a good week.
All right, buddy.
Bill Cole doing incredible therapy for me that ran 8 minutes longer than he wanted to run. Bill, I'll send you the bill. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking. And I mean never. Baltimore sports.